Now, perhaps you also have brothers or sisters. If they are older, they may have been like gods to you, and you may have taken very seriously the things that they said. Sometimes they may have considered you a nuisance, and you got the idea you weren't good enough. Teachers often say things that shape our lives. I remember when I was in the 5th grade, and the teacher called me up and said, "What do you want to do in life?" And I said, "Oh, I want to be a dancer." And she said to me, "Oh, let's leave that to the shorter girls. Tall girls can't dance." And I thought, oh dear. And I put away all my dancing aspirations in my pocket and literally didn't take them out till I was well over 40. School also creates so many interesting beliefs. For instance, if we think about tests and grades, were you really aware as a child that the tests you took and the grades you were getting had nothing to do with your self-worth? That they were showing you only how much you knew about a particular subject, and that's all. And most of us go through life reacting to the fear that we had as children when we had to take a test. We thought it had to do with whether we were good enough or not. When you were a child, your friends were just as mixed up as you were and had their own misinformation and may have taught you much nonsense, or they may have said things that were very cruel. You had neighbors. What did the neighbors say? What did they think? Were you afraid of them? Were they friends? Then you think of the ads on TV and in the magazines. How did they shape how you feel about yourself? There are so many products that are sold on the basis of trying to teach you that you're not good enough or acceptable enough unless you use their product. Do you buy into that? Or do you see their game? See, our old messages of limitations come from many places, and it always comes down to, where did we get the messages that we're not good enough? And then, of course, the next thing is how to transcend our limitations, no matter what they told us. See, it doesn't matter what other people say about us. It's how we react to it and what we're choosing to believe about ourselves. You know, Gerald Jampolsky has written a couple of wonderful books. In Teach Only Love, he said something I thought was brilliant. He said, if you want to increase your spiritual growth as quickly as possible, or if you want to get out of a problem as quickly as possible, choose to think only happy thoughts. You see, you can only think one thing at a time. You can spend your time thinking about joyous experiences, you can love yourself, or you can spend your time doing what I call griping and grunging, thinking about the past and all the failures and all the things that went wrong and how you're not good enough and how things may go wrong in the future is a sure way to continue to have failures. But that's not the way to create a wonderful life. Loving yourself and thinking joyful, happy thoughts is the quickest route you can take. So the next question is, now that we've looked at all these things, now that we have this list of all the things that are wrong with us and the list of all the things our parents said were wrong with us, and the neighbors and the friends and the church and the authority figures, the next question is it true? Look at your list. What do you still believe is true for you? Is it really true? And the answer to me is both yes and no. All these negative things are true if you believe them about yourself. And they're not true if you don't believe them. And you can tell what you believe just by looking at your experiences. If you have a lack of finances or you really can't get your money act together, then there must be a belief within you of burdens and debts. If you're a lonely person, then there must be a belief in there that says, nobody loves me, or I'm unlovable. If you're ill a lot, then you must have crippling thoughts of some sort. You may not consciously be aware of these thoughts, but if you look to your circumstances, you can begin to see what kind of thoughts you must have. So think of all the things in your life that are not working, because that's what we're concentrating on now. This is what we want to change. And ask yourself, what kind of thoughts could be creating these conditions? Could they be some of the things on your list? Some of the beliefs that we have are very positive and nourishing, and we want to keep those beliefs. We want to use them often because they work for us. And some of the things we believe are no longer appropriate. And some of the things we believe were never true. They were someone else's fears. All those things on your list were other people's opinions. So the question you have to ask yourself is it true? And you'll get the answer by looking around you at your circumstances. You see, our circumstances always show us what we believe. I remember once when I was a little girl in school, and this memory is so vivid for me because it's so typical of my beliefs about myself at the time. I remember that we had a party in school, and it was a gala affair, and everybody brought a lot of party stuff and things like that. And there was lots of cake. And there was so much cake that when the teacher was cutting it, several children got several pieces of cake. And yet, when it was my turn and I came up for a piece of cake, and of course with my belief system, I was last, there was no cake left. And all the children who had cake all the time and who believed that it was their right to have cake were having lots of cake. And I, who never had cake, and believed that I was not good enough and did not deserve any, there wasn't one piece left for me. It's a perfect example of how we create our circumstances by our beliefs. You see, if you grew up in a family where you were told all the time that it's all your fault, then you're going to go around feeling guilty most of your life and probably saying, "I'm sorry," all the time, or you will manipulate others through guilt. If you have a belief that nobody loved you, then you're either going to have no romances or you'll probably have very short romances. If we go around saying, "Well, that's the way I am," or "that's the way life is," that's expressing a belief, and perhaps it came from other people's opinions. It's not true for us, or it is true for us, depending on how we accept it. Stop accepting their limitations. We always have another way of looking at life. You know, many people get up in the morning, and if it's raining, they look out the window and say, "Oh, what a lousy day." Well, it isn't a lousy day, it's a wet day. But if we choose to believe it's a lousy day, then that's what we'll have, because we will create it. If we choose to believe it's a wet day, then we'll put on the appropriate clothing and do what we do on rainy days. There is no good or bad, there is no right or wrong, except that we make it so. And you know, every culture on this planet has different rules about those things. It's what we believe that makes things right or wrong or good or bad. And again, it's the old thing, what we give out, we get back, and usually in double. We want to begin to shift our beliefs today, to be willing to allow the changes to happen. The point of power is always in the present moment. And all these old things, these lacks, these limitations, these beliefs, can return to the nothingness from whence they came. They came out of nothing, and they can go back to it. You are the power. No person, no place, no thing has any power over you. I can give you lots of good advice and lots of wonderful new ideas, but if you choose not to accept them, then you're in control, for you have the power. You are the only person that thinks in your mind, and you create your experiences. And just for this moment, I want you to catch the thought you're thinking right now and ask yourself, is it negative, or is it positive, or is it neutral? Do you want this thought to create your future? Now, because we think so quickly, and the thoughts just go whizzing through our minds, it's not always so easy to begin changing our thoughts. You can start by editing your speech. Begin to listen to what you say, and don't say anything that you don't want to become true for you. There are literally billions of thoughts that you can think, and infinite numbers of things that you can say. Make these be nourishing thoughts. Pick thoughts that create nourishing experiences for you. Don't waste time thinking thoughts that create problems for you and then try to fix the problem. That to me is foolish and a waste of time. One of my very early teachers used to say often, "There is not something to do, there is something to know." Because truly, when we change our thinking, we change our experiences. All right, so what do we do now? Well, I think we can decide to change. That, to me, is the most important thing now. Oh, we can throw up our hands in horror and give up, or get angry or feel that it's all helpless and hopeless. But these are old and useless ways of handling things. If we think, oh, it's hopeless, so why try, because at least I can handle the pain, and I know what that is, well, that's just getting stuck and staying in the same old place. And you certainly have the choice of doing that, but you don't have to. And getting angry about circumstances, well, to me, that's like sitting in a corner with a dunce hat on. You know, something happens and we get angry, and something else happens and we get angry. Do anything about it. Do you know that people who commit suicide do so because they won't change their minds? They believe that life is only one way, and they don't want to look in another way or see another viewpoint. They refuse to believe there are other possibilities, and so they leave the planet instead. Getting angry or upset continuously because things aren't working, again, is sort of foolish and a wasted energy. What is really better is for you to ask yourself, how am I creating so many situations to be angry or upset at? And then sit down and really give yourself a chance to think about that. What could I be doing or believing that is creating this? And again, this is not to make you wrong, but just to let you look at what could be happening. When we start this work, I like to think of it very much like the end of a Thanksgiving dinner. You know, you've had all this wonderful Thanksgiving dinner and everybody's eaten much too much. And then it's time to go into the kitchen and clean up the turkey pan. And there it sits, all crusty and burnt, and it looks a mess. So the first thing you do is to put in some hot water and soap, and you let it soak. And then after it's soaked for a while, you start to scrape it, and all these bits come up. And then it really looks a mess. And if you didn't know better, you'd think that the pan would always be disgusting. However, if you keep going, after a little while, you're going to have a nice, clean turkey pan. Our consciousness is very much like that. When we begin to do this work, we go in and we start to clean our mental turkey pan. And sometimes things get worse before they get better. We want to know that it's okay if that happens and to just flow with it. I think mirror work is very important, and the more we can do it, the more we can reflect to ourselves where we are and what we need to do. So keep looking in the mirror and saying to yourself, I am willing to change, and I am willing to release the resistance. I am willing to change, and I am willing to release the resistance. Now all of us have to deal with what I call resistance to change. And we all have resistance, because on some level we want everything and everyone out there to change, but we don't want to have to change ourselves. And yet, changing ourselves is the very thing we must do in order to change our lives. So awareness is our next step. We must become aware of what it is that we believe. Otherwise, we don't know what to change. Our first reaction to a new awareness about ourselves is often resistance. And that's all right, because any reaction is good. It means the change is already in process. Let yourself notice how you react so that you are aware of what's going on. Our lessons are not necessarily easy. If they were easy, they wouldn't be lessons. It takes time and effort to learn what we need to learn. So don't demand instant change. Let yourself do it step by step. It will get easier as you go along. Too often we get impatient and we want to do things right now. Impatience is only resistance to learning. It means you want the goal without going through the process. You know, we can sit here and say, I want to be in the other room. And we can even demand and insist that we are in the other room right now. But we don't want to make the effort of getting up and going one step at a time in order to get to the other room. And we can sit here for days and keep yelling and insisting we want to be in the next room. And nothing will happen except that we get frustrated. However, if we make the effort and take the steps, no matter how small, one by one, before you know it, we will be there. Keep noticing what is going on in your body and what form your resistance may be taking. It's fascinating to watch how the mind works and learns. And the thing we resist the most is often that which we most need to learn. If you keep saying, I can't or I won't, you're probably referring to a lesson that is important to you. Think for a moment. What do you think you came to this planet for? What is your lesson? What did you come to learn? And what did you come to teach? I do not believe you came here to be miserable or to be unfulfilled. I believe you came here to be fulfilled and to give of yourself to others. We are all teachers and students. We are learning and we are teaching. You could ask yourself that question before you go to sleep tonight. What did I come here to learn? And what did I come here to teach? Let's look now into how we resist, because all of us resist change in some ways. We have so many ways to do this. There are many nonverbal ways. All sorts of things, like we could leave the room, begin to do something else, start flipping through a magazine, or pretending we don't hear. We also use assumptions, such as it won't do any good, or they won't let me, or they won't understand. Or we may have beliefs that are part of our resistance, like it's not done, or I can't do that, or it's too much work. And then, of course, there's always them. We use them as our excuse for resistance. We give our power to them, and we say things like, my husband or wife won't let me, or the stars or the cards are against it, or my doctor says no, or they have to change before I can, or it's against my religion or my beliefs. Or we put our changes on hold by saying, I'll do it later, or the time isn't right, or after I move. We might use fear as our resistance. I might get hurt, or what will the neighbors think, or I would rather die first, or I'd rather be divorced first, or I'm afraid to tell my husband or wife or boss. Don't all of these excuses add up to saying, I'm really not good enough? Many of you may be taking notes to give to your friends. You know exactly how to change them. Leave your friends alone. When we first begin to get some insights on how our minds work and how we can change, we want to run around giving our friends advice on what they can do to change their lives. We say, do you know what's wrong with you? And this never works. They will not listen to you unless you change your life first. The only way we can teach is by example. When we have made our own changes, then our friends and our families will come to us and say, you're so different, what have you done? And then they'll be glad to listen and maybe even try what you have done. When I first began teaching, I was not really practicing these principles, and my students didn't make too many changes in their lives. And it wasn't until I began to practice and to live that which I was teaching that I really began to help other people. So hold down your enthusiasm and don't run around trying to heal all your friends. Do your own mental work and heal yourself. This will do more good for those around you than anything else. Besides, we can't learn other people's lessons for them. They must do the work themselves, and they won't do it until they are ready. The student must come to the teacher, or it won't work. Now and then someone will ask me to go and call or see their friend who needs help, and it doesn't work that way. The person must ask for help themselves, or they're not ready to change. Once in a while, someone would get a lesson with Louise as a present, and I stopped accepting those people as clients, for it was a waste of time. Either they would not show up, or be late, or get nothing out of the session. When the student is ready, the teacher always appears. We all want our families to accept us just as we are. Well, remember, what we give out, we get back. So if you want love and acceptance from your family, then this is what you must give to your family. When you are willing to accept them exactly as they are, then they will begin to accept you exactly as you are. We must be willing to practice what we want to have. The golden rule is ancient. It was never created to make us into goody-goody people. It was showing us a principle of truth. Give unto others as you would have them give unto you. Let's use the mirror to check our resistance level. Look into your eyes and say, I am willing to change. I am willing to change. Are you hesitating? Do you feel that it's not true? What is the belief that's in the way? Remember, it's only a thought, and a thought can be changed. Don't let this thought stop you from becoming free. We are looking for the real problem, not just the outer effect or issue. We create habits and problems to fulfill a need within us. When we can find a positive way to fulfill that need, we can release the problem. Willpower and discipline don't work to make permanent changes. See, if you're overweight and you diet, you can have all the willpower and discipline in the world. You can be really strong, and for months you may not eat one mouthful of food that you shouldn't eat. And the moment you drop your willpower and discipline, bloop, there's the weight again. It's because you haven't dealt with the real issue. You've only worked on the outer effect. The real issue with weight is usually fear, which creates fat for protection. And you can fight fat all your life and never get to the real issue. And you would probably die believing you were not good enough because you couldn't lose weight. Your need to feel safe could be fulfilled in a more positive way. Then the weight would leave by itself. So let's look a little deeper. If you're having problems with the last affirmation, I'm willing to change, then do this one. I'm willing to release the need for this problem or resistance. Let go of the need you have. Now, procrastination is another form of resistance, of saying you're not good enough. If you procrastinate, then you will not allow yourself to have what it is you say you want. Resenting another person having good in their life is another form of resistance to your own good. You will be giving out resistance to good, and that is what you will create in your own life. There is plenty for everyone. No matter how much air you breathe, there's still an abundance for every person on the planet to have as much as they can use. Many of us were raised to be victims, to feel that they are doing it to us. The problem with being a victim is stuck in their problem, and we no longer choose to be stuck. We are learning there is something we can do to free ourselves. If we say, I am willing to release the pattern in my consciousness that is creating this condition, then immediately we step out of the victim class and we begin to take our own power back. We realize that we can dissolve the problem that we helped create. See, when we scold ourselves, when we berate ourselves or make ourselves wrong, we are mistreating that 3-year-old child within us. How can we be happy and free when the child within us is miserable and frightened? If you had a frightened child before you, you would probably comfort the child so that it could feel safe and happy. Be gentle and kind and comforting with your inner child as you uncover and release the old negative messages within you. This is a wonderful adventure you're on, and you will never go through this particular process again. See today as a very exciting time of your life. See, once you work through these issues, they will be gone and your life will be different. As you choose to work with your other issues, it'll be much easier. We've uncovered some patterns, and now your next question may be, how do I change? Well, you've already begun. There are changes taking place within you that you're not even aware of. And from now on, all your changes are for the better, even if it does not seem to be so. Sometimes things seem to be worse at first. Remember our turkey pan. You may need to scrape up some gook from the bottom of your pan as you do your own mental cleansing process. You may be working on getting a new job, and you may be fired. See this as the first step in moving you to your new position. You may be working on prosperity and you lose your wallet. Don't panic and give up. This could be part of the positive change that's taking place. You may be working on relationships and you have a fight, or you're working on health and you develop a cold. These are all temporary experiences that are part of releasing the junk of the past. Try to understand that the movement that is taking place in your life is what I call divine right action, and that it's working for your highest good. Things will definitely be shifting inside of you. So include an affirmation that says, all my changes are comfortable and easy and fun. All is well in my life is an affirmation I used over and over again as I worked through my own cleansing process. What is it you want to change in your life? What sort of problem or issue do you have that you want to release? Think about this for a moment. You could discuss this with a partner, or you could use your mirror as a partner. Either way, say this with me. I realize that I have created this problem, and now I am willing to release the pattern in my consciousness that is keeping this condition. Let's say it once more. I realize that I have created this problem, and I am now willing to release the pattern in my consciousness that is creating this condition. How does it feel? Are you really ready to step out of the bondage of the past? Or is there still resistance and hesitation? Don't wait until you figure out how to do this. Just have the willingness to let go. All you need to do is change your thoughts, and that universal intelligence, your subconscious mind, will figure out the hows. Your willingness to release will start the ball rolling, and things will begin to shift. Whatever the shift is, see it as positive. Your thoughts do not control you. You control your thoughts. You are much more than your mind. Your mind is a tool you use, and the way you've been using it is a habit, and you can change the habit. It may feel strange at first, but with practice, it will become easier. Just for a moment, I want you to clasp your hands together. Now, there's no right or wrong way to do this. Just notice which thumb is on top. Now, unclasp your hands and clasp them together with the other thumb on top. And notice how that feels. It might feel different. It might feel strange. It might even feel wrong. Just notice your feelings. This is how you feel when you do something differently, the beginning of your change process. Now, clasp your hands back the first way, and the second way, and the first way, and the second way, and the first way, and the second way. Now, how does that feel? Feels a little more comfortable, a little more okay. And as you continue to do it, it may even feel normal and natural. It's really just that easy to change a habit, a bit of practice. Let's practice our option of choice. Let's choose to believe that it is easy to change a thought or a pattern. What we choose to believe becomes true for us. If you want to believe that change is hard or difficult, then it will be so for you. But that was the old victim stance, and we're moving away from that belief. As you learn to control your mind, you become powerful. In all of life, the only thing we have control over is our current thought. The past is over and done and cannot be changed, except for the way we choose to look at it. The future is being created right now by the thoughts we are choosing to think. Let's choose thoughts that make our future fun and joyful and loving and prosperous and healthy. If you have a small child that's been used to staying up to midnight, and you now decide that 8 o'clock would be a more appropriate bedtime, guess what will happen the first night you put the new time into action? The child will probably kick and scream and carry on. It may even have a tantrum. And if you give in, then the child will find it very difficult to ever accept the new rules. But if you're gentle and firm and insist that this is the new bedtime, and allow the child to carry on for a while before it goes to sleep, the next day the resistance will be less. And after a few days of lessening resistance, the child will accept going to bed at the new time. It's the same with our new thoughts and developing new habits. Gentle, firm insistence, consistency in what we choose to think will make the changes quickly and easily. Let's do a physical releasing now. So many times we get so tense and tight and all mixed up about the things we're trying to do, and we think we have to work hard for things. That's not really true. We can practice letting go in a relaxed and peaceful way. So close your eyes for a few moments, and I want you to let your whole body relax. Let your scalp relax, your forehead, all the muscles in back of your eyes. Let your whole face relax. Let your shoulders relax. Have you noticed a difference in your body since we began to relax? If your body has been tense, then it means that your mind has been tense also. Let the rest of your body relax and be very comfortable. Let's affirm together in a peaceful way. I am willing to let go. I release. I relax. I release fear. I release anger. I release guilt. I release sadness. I release limitations. I release my parents' limitations. I am willing to forgive. I am at peace. I am safe. I am me. It is safe to be me. I let go, and I am at peace. And then open your eyes. It only takes a moment or two to do this releasing. Do it often until relaxing your body and your mind becomes a new habit. Changing doesn't have to be a struggle. We can relax and make it easy. I'm not telling you to hold in your feelings or pretend you're not upset if you are. Sometimes when we get upset, we need to have a physical release. We don't want to swallow our anger down and have it settle in the body so that it becomes pockets of resentment. And there are several methods to release these feelings in positive ways. Now, you could scream in the car with the windows rolled up. You can beat your bed or kick pillows and let yourself make noise and say all the things you want to say. You can scream into a pillow if you're concerned about others hearing you. You can run or play a game like tennis to help release that energy. One day, I noticed I had a pain in my shoulder, and it was there for a couple of days. And I thought, oh dear, what is this? So I sat down and said, all right, Louise, think for a minute. And I said to myself, I have a pain in my shoulder. What does it feel like? It seems to burn, burning. What does that mean? Ah, it must mean anger. And I wondered what I was angry about, and I couldn't think of anything at the moment. So I got out a couple of pillows, and I started to really beat on them with all my might and make angry sounds. And by the time I'd hit the pillows about 10 times, I knew exactly what I was angry about. It came right to the surface. So I let it come out, and then I released it and let it go. And of course, by the next day, my shoulder was fine. I believe we could all beat the bed or kick pillows at least once a week, just to release those physical tensions we all build up in our bodies. If we don't release, then the past holds us back. I do not choose to live in the past, nor be held back by the past any longer. I choose to live in the now and to build a wonderful new future. I've had many people tell me, well, because of such and such, I can no longer enjoy life. I didn't get invited to the prom or the party, so now I'm going to be miserable for the rest of my life. Or I didn't get the part, or I didn't make the sale, so I'm no good. Or because I'm no longer married, I can't enjoy life ever again. What foolish limitations we create for ourselves. Don't let these beliefs from the past hurt you in the now. Release that emotional attachment. If we live fully in this moment, we cannot be hurt by the past, no matter what it was. If I asked you what you wore in the 3rd grade, you may or may not remember. If you remember, you probably wouldn't have much emotional attachment to it. You would just remember, and that would be it. And that's how we want to be with all our past experiences. Just recognize them and let them go. Please, make a list of all the things you are willing to let go of. As you write the list, notice your reactions. And when you finish this list of all the things you're willing to let go of, come back to me.